Sean B. Pronto Chat, Day 3 of New York Comic Con, and my guest at this time is none other than the great
YANICK PAQUETTE.
And for people not familiar with your work, what have you done? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, I've been doing comics for the past 20 years. Well, more than that, 21 years. Every year it changed, so I can't repeat. Next year's gonna be 22. And yeah, I've been doing most of the character people might associate with comics: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the X-Men, some Wolverine. But recent year I've been doing Swamp Thing, which, because I was pushing a little bit, the originality side got me associated with that particular book. And well, in secret, not a real secret, but I've been working intensely for the past 2 years on WonderWomen Earth 1, which is not out yet. But yeah, I can wait for people to see it. So next time I will be most certainly associated with Wonder Woman. So there you go.
Now, the Earth 1 series has been completely different, and I know hearing interviews with Morrison that it's a throwback to the original. Was that something that you were excited about, or was that something you were like, I like the action books?
Actually, I thought the originality of the stuff for the 40s was worthy to explore again in a modern way. I mean, I'm not too much into superhero anymore as I grow older, so I always need some sort of intellectual justification to get on board in the book. In the case of Swamp Thing, it was a reflection about my own relationship to comic, and because I've grown up with Swamp Thing, with Bernie Wrightson, with Alan Moore, it felt really personal. When I did Batmaning, it was something about foreign culture, and how I wanted the foreign culture to be the center element of the part of the Batmaning that I did. And with Wonder Woman, it's all about feminism and sexuality in a modern fashion. I'm French Canadian. I'm coming from a very pro-modern, progressive society, and sometimes I see stuff happening in other culture, like the American culture, and I'm like, that's strange and peculiar, and especially about sexuality. And I felt like Wonder Woman is a perfect mouthpiece, to express and try to modernize the relationship towards sexuality, and especially for women. And that's why I'm on board. And by going back to the 40s, I mean, most people haven't read the 40s of Wonder Woman, but it's filled with kinky bondage and like a obvious sexuality underneath, something very naive. But the creature itself was kind of a very modern guy with his own sexuality. It would live with two women as his wife and some student, and when he died, actually the two women stayed together, and they became a lesbian couple. And yeah, there's something in Wonder Woman that is unexplored, which is that ability to talk about sex in a positive fashion. At DC, we got characters that use their sexuality as almost weaponry, like Catwoman or I don't know, Poison Ivy. They would use sex as sexiness or erotism as a way of trapping people or whatever. But there is very few example or none to demonstrate like somebody how can I put that in words, that owns their own sexuality entirely, that is in control of her own sexuality for herself and not for gain or whatever. And that was the ambition of the book. I mean, it's a Grant Morrison book, so none of what I'm saying is obvious when you read it. It's hidden under layers and layers of coding, but it's there. I mean, that was the intention of the book, and also a bit about the relationship between mothers and daughters. My own I had something about the female figure. We're talking about a lot about the female figure in comics. This is not a week where it's not a scandal, or some things brewing on Twitter about somebody not happy with something about this, and I've tried to explore the way we drew the female form, and the book is half on the island where everybody is a comic book character, like a perfect female figure, like athletic and and long-legged and what have you, what you expect from a comic. But then, as soon as you get to the real world, suddenly you see the diversity of women, and they're all beautiful in my eyes and the way I've drawn them. But there's some of them are more little chubby Asian, And but by having the diversity in beauty and respect, and throwing in that bunch Wonder Woman, which looked like something unreal. I mean, it works both ways. It helps me drawing a Wonder Woman that looks alien and supernaturally beautiful, and at the same time promoting diversity for female bodies. So that's one of my. Nowadays, every time I do a book, it's like filled with like these agendas and stuff. So that's the way I convince myself it's still worth drawing.
Yeah, that was an amazing speech. Now I noticed you're doing watercolor, and you said you've been doing this for 21 years.
Yeah, well, no, I'm doing watercolor only at convention now, because at home I'm working on a Cintiq tablet, so it's all digital. All I do is digital, and my colorist is Nathan Vermain. It has been Nathan for years, and as a revenge on matter, almost, I'll use watercolor and splatter and things at convention. My office is like squeaky clean, like just my Wacom pen and like this tablet, and so yeah, here it's a big mess. So I guess it's to compensate my lifestyle as a professional.
Nice. Do you prefer doing it by hand or digitally? Did it take you a while to get used to doing it digitally? Because obviously, when you started, there was no real digital way to do it.
I've worked for the longest time on paper, really, and with an inker, and but the way I would work would to do like a rough and then having it transferred through a light box, on the actual board, and. In a way, it's like working with Photoshop, but in a prehistoric fashion, with layers. So I knew that if the technology would arise where I could use my drafting table and this ability of using layers, but, that mixture of because I knew people that could use a tablet, like you move your hand on your tablet and it's happening on a screen somewhere else, that disconnect was too much for me. The Cintiq technology allows you to draw where you draw, with your hand. It's happening on the screen where your stylus is actually touching the screen. So there is really no difference in terms of the gesture. And everything, all the technique that I would do on paper, I could just import it on Photoshop. But also I could use stuff that Photoshop allows me to do that paper won't. Trying to ink and fail, for instance, was one of the biggest thing, because I never been very confident with my own inking, but as soon as I started to do digital, I could take chances, and I've been taking chances, and now I'm much more confident with the work that I do in reality and in digital also, because I know that I don't always fail anymore. So that I always prefer digital though, because the extra control it gives you on things. So yeah, it's gonna be digital. I'm not faster. I'm actually slower doing digital, but I can push the art a little bit further. And I don't have any originals to sell, but the art is better, and I feel like it's a win for everyone.
That is true. Because I know you're in the middle of doing a bunch of commissions, I'm going to wrap this up. I got one last question for you. Do you think Lucky Charms are magically delicious?
They might, you don't know the technology behind it. I've heard stories, rumor. I won't confirm or infirm anything, but I don't even know what they're made of. The marshmallows themselves. I mean, is it really possible? I don't know. Is there a machine that does that, or is maybe train super monkeys to to carve these shapes out of huge marshmallows? I don't know how to do it, so I can't close the door on magic on this. Seriously.
That was fantastic. Thank you for the time. On to the next one.
Have fun.